For those of you who are not in the Asheville area, perhaps you have seen in the news and things like that, and even those of you who are not in the United States, mm, you have perhaps seen in the news, and perhaps you have seen on my Facebook. So basically, the first thing to say is that where most of us are in Asheville, in this group that is here, I would say all of us here in this group that are in Asheville, just so you know and don't have to worry, we're all very safe. We are not at any risk of any kind of harm or damage of any sorts. Um, Most of what's happening is happening in the downtown area, and even downtown in a specific area, and even that in a specific time of the day. The main protests started uh, 3 nights ago. Um, so there were 2 nights where it was the protests. Second night, a lot more outbreaks of violence, and but not violence as in people necessarily beating each other up at all. But then last night was the first night when the city's curfew started at 8. Then, of course, there were people challenging that curfew. So that was going on. But anyway, most of us, as I said on my Facebook, if you were not paying attention to news or the internet, and if you didn't venture downtown in the evening in those areas, you probably would have no idea that anything like this is going on. And my point to that is that if you are concerned about us, we are fine. Then what I want to say next is my opinion, not speaking for anyone at all, is, and also, this is really neither the place to debate these things or to talk really about it that much. Some other time we can talk about it if you want. But I felt like this morning, I usually just don't write anything really. It's kind of pointless on Facebook, right? That's not the forum for discussions per se. But I did respond to one comment. It's a friend posting about basically someone she knows and her experience of being hit by rubber bullets. And so someone I know of, I don't know personally, but he's kind of a retired religious studies professor. And so it caught my attention, and he posted 2 words, just stop, just period, stop period. So then my friend who was a student of this person wrote, I'm not sure what you mean by just stop, but with all due respect, I will not stop sharing what is happening and all around me. I will not stop speaking out. I will not stop using my voice and my resources to show what is going on. I will not stop standing up for what I believe in. I will not stop believing in and demanding change. I will not stop being outraged by the injustices that keep unfolding right before us. Then he responded to her, I wasn't suggesting you stop anything. I was praying the violence would stop so underlying issues can be addressed. So I wrote something, not necessarily just about him or his response, but I felt, I want to say something. I say, violence harms everyone, no debate there. And I too pray that violence is pacified. And let it start with those whom we have entrusted with power and authority. Will underlying issues be addressed when the violence stops? The many black lives taken by law enforcement in increasing numbers over the years suggest that those with political clout has thus far no will, no political will to address them. These underlying issues aren't new to this generation or last generation or the generation before. We didn't just wake up this morning and discovered that they've been haunting us. We have just hidden them more efficiently under the veneer of seeming progress. Yeah, so that's how I feel. I think it's terrible when violence breaks out. But we cannot expect people to be bodhisattvas. Neither should we encourage the violence, but we also cannot expect people to be bodhisattvas. It's how I think about it. I was talking to my parents in Malaysia. Understandably, I understand, they say like, oh, people should just stop doing these things. It's like, what things are you talking about, that people are doing? I said, in this case, you have 5,000-6,000 people marching, protesting. But it's not like these 5,000-6,000 people got together and sat down and say, okay, we will do the following and we won't do the following. These 5,000-6,000 people are all kinds of people of all types, involved. Then you have, you only need 2 or 3 people to be throwing fireworks, and chaos, mini chaos and panic would break, would escalate, and then police will start throwing tear gas. And one of us, Carolyn, was on the front of documenting all of this. And Carolyn, I have to say, this is not new to you, going to protest, but even that, this is very brave. I was really concerned because that night I was watching you, I was watching another person, and I knew that where you were was where they said that guns have been sighted and perhaps been used. And as you know, every area, every protest is different. It's hard to generalize, who is doing what. In some cases, probably, yes, some organized instigators. In some cases, just frustrated people, that's all. In some cases, people are looking to get stuff, for sure. It's hard to generalize. And in my mind, the worst we can do is to then say, oh, this protest is responsible for this. Interdependence, Now negative interdependence is coming together. So anyway, like I said, I don't intend for this to be, you can discuss with me afterwards, but my point is, it's hard for those of you who are not here to know exactly what the situation is. And generally, what I want to say is the situation is like those of us who are here, we are safe. Even Carolyn, who ventured down there at the time in a place where it is dangerous, she mostly she said, I'm safe. Change is painful. So next, check that off. Next, so Nathan has been thinking a lot about a lot of things. One of the things that has been thinking about and 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 thinking through is related to the online course that we just started offering, which is the 7-part online course, which is basically, you sign up every week, you get a link, and you can watch it at your own leisure. The first one we did is meditation for kids. So that has been offered. But at this time, we can see not that many people are taking up that opportunity, which is a shame. But that's okay. It's not like there's any loss on our side. We will just continue to offer. So then with that, the idea now is to offer like the Dharma teachings that I have done in the past. So there's a set of teachings, which we call it the Road to Refuge. Some of you even took that. And at the end of Road to Refuge, when we offered it a couple of years back, the program finished with the opportunity to formally take refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha. And so there are 3 recordings for that. So anyway, so we have identified this as possibly the first course to be offered as a home study course, to be done in the same style as those, the first set. So here, the idea is that we offer this course. Again, then people sign up. So whenever they sign up, then starting from that point, every Saturday or every whatever day, they will get a link, and they can go to the link. And then they will also get supporting materials. So whatever handouts, whatever suggested reading, including quizzes for each of the lessons. Not so much that they'll be graded, but I think when you create a quiz, you help people kind of know, oh, this is important to remember. Oh, this is important to remember. This is important to remember. So we want to create something like this. But for this to happen, we need foot soldiers. We need help. So here, Nathan feels that we need people who can go over, one of the things is go over those 3 videos, because those videos are how long? Those videos are about 2 hours each of those teachings. It's not optimal for people who are doing these home studies. Optimal is really between half an hour and 40 minutes. So we need someone or some people to go over the videos and kind of suggest, like at the 41st minute or 37th minute, that's a good point to cut it. And then, at another point, it's a good point to cut it. To cut it into 2 or to cut it into 3. And then also, since you're already listening, to kind of also take notes, like in point form, and sort of like between this minute to the first cut, the following things are generally covered. And then between this and that, certain things are covered. So kind of we have notes on these talks, right? And then perhaps then I can go prepare an outline as a handout for people. So we need volunteers to do something like that. Then we need also, if people who have the skill already, if you're going to go start learning, you can, but hopefully you have already the skill. You can also be the person that will then cut those videos and turn 1 MP4 into 3 MP4. So, and some other things such as volunteering to record perhaps an intro to this series. Yeah, that is, maybe I can do that, or maybe someone else can do that. An outro, so to say, at the end of it. If you have listened to our podcast, you will remember hearing the voice of Joel Quick, who lives up in Boston now with Brianna and their daughter. He did the intro and outro, for each of them. He introduces the topic, and then he says thank you, and gives some information at the end. So we also have things like that. So this is a good way to support the Dharma, to make offerings of Dharma. So they say the offering of Dharma is the best of offerings. So this is a way to offer Dharma. And if you would like to be involved, you should send an email to Nathan or WhatsApp. I think all of you are on the WhatsApp. Nathan, send right now to WhatsApp. Be more alert. Some of you have picked on my expectations of being alert. Very good at immediately typing on chat things that I say, so that other people can quickly catch it. That's very helpful. I appreciate, if you know I'm using some term that is Sanskrit or Tibetan that other people probably don't know how it's spelled, how it looks like, you are offering Dharma, when you type there and say, it's this word, it's this file. This is what we talk about when we talk about mindfulness. Don't get lost in your own world. um, so that's second thing. Third thing is we have more translations that on the way. I just got a message from them. 5 texts of Kyoba Rinpoche's teachings, 5 texts, 5 short texts, 1 Tibetan page, usually translate to our page, 1 page, 1.5, depending on whether it's prose or verse. And so 5 short teachings they've been working on. They basically have finished all 5, but 2 they have shared with me for me to edit, and then I meet with them. So more translations are on their way. I'm collecting them until I have a good number. Then I will publish first run in an e-copy to be shared with all of you. So thank you again to those of you who have pledged to support this translation project. For those of you who are new, who don't know, this ongoing translation project, the cost is $45 per page. 2 people plus myself. Well, I'm not getting paid for it because I don't need that money. But the 2 young people, that's their main source of income. They supplement it by tutoring, but translating. And so they work, each page is a few hours of work. And then I meet with them. I know how many hours I meet with them. So that also is the hours that they work. So it really comes up to, being paid about $10 an hour or less for their work. So very reasonable, but it's $45 a page to translate. And so many of you have pledged. Some of you pledge, half a page, a quarter page. It's to be connected to the project that is what's important. When you connect to the project, then all the good that everyone is contributing to the project, we say you experience the same result. So whether you are offering a half a page, a quarter of a page, or 5 page or 20 page, when we all join together our efforts in doing the project, then all the good we share course, we dedicate. So these are the three things. Any question regarding the last two, the projects? So the project with the online course is a big part of, it's a bigger project. So we will start with the Road to Refuge. Then Nathan and other people who want to be involved in this can help go look at the Urban Dharma podcast website and look at all the teachings that have been done. And to, for one thing, to compile, for example, all the teaching titles. Then to be able to look at all the titles and to say, we can divide them into beginner courses, intermediate courses, and advanced courses. When people sign up for these courses, they like to see that, because most of us learn this way, you know, when we went to college, and, you know, this is the mode that we learn. We want to be able to see the whole picture. So even this Road to Refuge, I think we will not offer it until we have a rough framework of the whole structure of what we are offering. And people like to see that. So, oh, they can see, I can start with this introductory and do this, and then go on to this, and go on to this, and then in the intermediate, I can do this, this, and that. And then I said, even if you watch or listen, the podcast is listen. If you listen to the teachings and suggest where to cut them, and also to take notes, then where we see supplementary material needs to be made, then I can record short kind of supplementary classes to add to what already exists. So again, if you can be involved, want to be involved, please get in touch and we will get organized. Any questions, comments about these last 2 points? Not the first point. The first point, there is no end to. Not the silence discussion, but there's no end to that. Talking about it. No? No questions? Okay. We move on. By the way, I have been thinking, wondering, so I'll share with you, if I should try to offer post June 5th daily practice, so that the rest of the month of Visakha, if you want to practice together, there's a chance. Sarah is excited. I thought, if we do that, well, of course, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday Gongchik is going to continue. But then all the other days, I was thinking if we could do basically a 1 hour, like from 10 to 11. That tells you, you know, I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. But I thought, you know, if we could do 10 to 11, you know, and just practice, you know, of course I will give commentary on the practice. Then maybe it's good, you know. So we'll see. I'm thinking of that idea. So 6.6, yeah. It is certain that the only means of cultivating realization is devotion. I cannot emphasize enough, you know, like please read any and all of these statements, not as a stand alone. Remember everything that we have said. Huh? Because otherwise you will be continuously going, but, what about? But, what about? Zoom out, look at the big picture. Of course, after you zoom out and you zoom in, you still have questions, but, yes, of course, yes. Do ask, remember, this is not written as you know, a philosophical essay where every word, every punctuation, is to be accounted for. This requires a whole different kind of attitude. Remember that these are instructions for the heart. I think this is helpful, more poetic than literal. This is not an instruction manual like how to set up your computer, your DVD, or whatever. I wanted to say how to set up your video player. I'm like, wait, what century am I in? Tells you how old I am. I used to be, like this thick book to tell you how to set up, your VCR player. And yet days later, you still can't set it up, So this is not like those, manuals where everything is kind of literally accounted for. This is not a bookkeeper's document. These are, remember, Sherab Jungnae picked up all these one-liners throughout, I don't know, 40 years or however number of years of serving Jigten Sumga. So he pulls out one line. He pulls out one line. He remembers these one-liners. Probably sometimes rephrased in his own words. Yeah. But also based on Sherab Jungnae understanding, what kinds of imprecise understanding is out there, what kind of like fuzzy understanding is out there, what kind of mistaken understanding is out there, and him wanting to put it down before it's forgotten. Because Kyoba Rinpoche himself never wrote like, a book, with an outline, with an editor, chapter 1 like this, chapter 2 like this, chapter 1 we have to cover the following topics. Kyoba Rinpoche never wrote like, say, Gampopa's Jewel Ornament of Liberation, 21 chapters, with a particular logic, particular structure, using extensive scriptural sources to back up, to explain, to Kyoba Rinpoche never did anything like that. Everything he gave, more like Milarepa style, more like even Buddha Shakyamuni style. Yeah? Extemporaneous, on the spot. So Sherab Jungnae felt the importance of distilling, to distill the essence, and to organize them into these one-liners, these Vajra statements. So try to remember that, yeah? Now, of course, then the people who wrote commentaries afterwards, some of them try very hard to come up with a structure. I don't know if that's necessarily what we should try to do. Choki Drakpa's commentary, which is the main commentary we're reading, comes from 400 years later. So during those 400 years, Tibetan literature, Tibetan intellectual traditions, Tibetan kind of education, all of that, 400 years. Lots of things has changed. So then the expectations of what Kyoba Rinpoche should say or how he says it has also changed. So in some ways, Chodra, someone like Chodra, wants to show how Kyoba Rinpoche's teachings is still relevant. So without choice, he has to, in his commentary, bring in things that his audience expects to see. So in a way, the notes provided by Sobish takes us closer back to Kyoba Rinpoche's time. Of course, Sobish is in our own time, but whenever he quotes the two earliest commentary, the Dorshema and the Rinjangma, those are very close to Kyoba Rinpoche's time because they were composed by people who, actually saw Kyoba Rinpoche and were students or students of his students. So one of them is the brother of Sherab Jumne. So then he probably also was a student of Kyoba Rinpoche. And then the other one is Sherab Jumne's student. And between the two, Dorje Sherab has more of a scholarly, it's more scholarly. Rinchen Changju is more practitioner style. So also good to remember that. So anyway, we are now going to look at the notes. According to the Dorshema, some people say that realization arises from listening to the teachings, from reflecting on them, from practicing them. A well-known passage from the Udana Varga is cited. So in the commentary, they show like, we know you can quote, sutras and tantras to show how realization can arise from doing this or doing that. According to which, through listening, one knows the Dharma, turns away from evil, abandons harm, and attains nirvana. So there are, views like that, and you can quote, a sutra passage to show that. Secondly, one attains realization through reflection by such methods as the four logical arguments that lead to the realization of emptiness. So the Madhyamaka tradition, the scholars in those traditions will use what is known as the four logical arguments to basically dismantle all conceptual positions. And it is said that in doing that, you can realize emptiness. And then finally, so if the first one, you can say maybe the more Hinayana types talk about the first one. The second one, maybe the more Mahayana type talks about that. The third one is more the Vajrayana type. It is also held that realization is born through practicing channels, winds, and vital essences. So the inner yogas. Therefore, quote, a great many people say that there is no certainty regarding the means of attaining realization, unquote. In an article that Sobish he wrote in 2011, he says, I have shown on the basis of several of Jigten Sumgön's works that he views the cultivation of the notion of the guru being the Dharmakaya as the highest form of devotion. So here, firstly, in this passage, it says it's devotion. Then Sobish, in an essay that he wrote, if you want to read that essay, it is available on academia.org, academia.org. You type a search for Sobish, search by author. Again, these are free service, but they are always trying to get you to sign up for the full package. So when you do a search for Sobish, it might look like you need the full package to get access, but it's not. Just look very carefully and you can find. And he shared this article there, I believe. So there, so here is saying, so we talk about devotion, but then more specifically, what are we talking about? So the last time on Monday, we talked about, so what are we talking about, this devotion? Here, Sobish shows that in Jigten Sumgön's view, the cultivation of the notion the cultivation of the understanding that the guru is the Dharmakaya. That is the highest form of devotion. That is the devotion that is needed to see, to successfully recognize nature of mind when it is being pointed out by a guru with ability. In other words, if you view that guru less than Dharmakaya, it will not happen. Moreover, he holds that this kind of devotion is in fact the single necessary means for the final breakthrough to the realization of Mahamudra. Final breakthrough. I think this is important. So then we should not, I know, very maybe normal for us to immediately go, oh, but so I don't have that. What do I do? Well, it's a given. Maybe all of us don't have that right now. This is in the final breakthrough to the realization of Mahamudra. Again here, right? Realization means the beginning of the practice of stabilizing the realization. The realization here doesn't mean you become Buddha. Yeah? So in one text, Kyoba Rinpoche says, ultimate guru sacrifice does not refer to making great offerings, performing many services, and attending guru for a long time. See, those three things are taught as things that disciples should cultivate. So don't misunderstand Kyoba Rinpoche. He's not saying, you don't do these things. These are given as things that we disciples have to do. But even that is not the ultimate guru sacrifice. This is not the ultimate offering or sacrifice to the guru. Since beyond seeing the guru as Dharmakaya and the arising of certainty about that, there is no occasion of regarding him as anything superior to that. This seeing of the guru as Dharmakaya is called the final moment, the ultimate. In the beginning, he translates the same Tibetan words, dukita. In the beginning, he translates as ultimate. Here, he translates at the bottom as the final moment. It has both meaning, ultimate, the final moment. So the ultimate, the final moment before Mahamudra is realized is a complete kind of realization that the guru is the Dharmakaya. This, I think, can be maybe understood by, as I was explaining before. If we think of guru as human guru, the teachings as guru, and the nature of our mind as guru, these three, then we begin by relying on human gurus. And if human gurus are doing the job of gurus, and if you are relating to the human guru in the right way, then the guru is pointing you towards the teachings. Then when you go towards the teachings and absorb the teachings, and the teachings often appear in the form of texts, in the form of books, then now teachings or books as text, right? The pecha, the book as text, as teacher, as guru. And if you're following the text right, if you're following the teachings right, and if the teachings are authentic, then they are pointing you to what? They're pointing you to your mind. Then when they point you to your mind, and when you realize, when you see your mind directly and understand your mind, you will realize that your gurus, what is said in the teachings and the texts, and what is your mind are inseparably one. And that is Dharmakaya. So in this way, you can see how seeing your guru as Dharmakaya means you have seen your own Dharmakaya. So Sobish continues, he says, this refers to the final moment of the Guru Yoga practice, especially, I would say especially, not limited, in the context of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, which leads to the realization of Mahamudra. It is not to say that there are no other practice methods in the realization of Mahamudra, but the final, the ultimate, the final moment must be the devotion that consists in viewing the Guru. I think better than viewing is seeing the Guru. This final moment is seeing. Viewing, at least in English, the slight nuance between seeing and viewing involves a deliberate decision to view. See is almost like you're not putting, you don't even need to put in effort anymore. You just see it, you know. But to come to the point of where you just see Guru as Dharmakaya, you have to begin by training to view. So here, but the ultimate final moment must be the devotion that consists in seeing, in having seen, in seeing the Guru as Dharmakaya. In a nutshell, Jigten Sungön teaches that one cultivates realization through three things. Through the cause, which is your pure special motivation, ours pure special motivation, the condition divided into self aspect, our having accumulated merit, and the Guru having the qualities. And then the means, the method. So you have cause, condition, and you need method. The method then, the means then, is ultimate Guru devotion. Ultimate Guru devotion, again, just to point out, here is not talking about you fervently, believing the Guru to be Dharmakaya. The ultimate here is talking about seeing the ultimate nature of the Guru. It's not saying ultimately devoted. Yeah, you get the difference I'm making? Yeah, it's not saying, fanatically thinking the Guru is Dharmakaya, but to be able to see the Guru's ultimate nature as Dharmakaya. So ultimate Guru devotion. Pure special motivation refers to aspiring the result, which is such that, quote, as long as the beings are not exhausted, the Buddha activity too is not known to be exhausted. And the inexhaustible body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, the wheel of ornamentation, shall uninterruptedly arise until samsara is empty. So having this, in other words, this is bodhicitta, the motivation that understands, that comes from knowing that as long as sentient beings still exist in a state of confusion, then our Buddha activity has to continue uninterrupted. The above interpretation of ultimate Guru is Jigten Sungön's interpretation of Hevaja Tantra, which says, what is not expressed by others, the innate, which one cannot find anywhere, one must know through the ultimate Guru sacrifice and through one's merit. The meaning of this passage is dealt with in Jigten Sungön's instructions cited above, and in the passage of his Chintamani that I discovered only after writing my article. The meaning is this: through one's own condition, the accumulation of merit, the Guru increasingly develops. So you see how, this guru is not like some person huh, out there, really. Of course, persons out there can serve as guru, but this guru increasingly develops. You can see this emphasis throughout the Gongchik. When they talk about the vows, even there they say these vows are not like, you know, sets of rules that is out there. Of course, there are sets of rules that are out there, but the real meaning of the vows has to be, uh, these experiences, these levels of maturity that arise within us. So likewise, the guru increasingly develops through the accumulation of merit. In agreement with the merit accumulated and through the other's condition, the excellent guru, one is brought to maturity. So our spiritual potential can bear fruit if our merit and the excellent guru comes together. One accomplishes it through the profound dependent origination, like the sun and its rays, or a seed and its fruit. Thus, the dependent origination of devotion is so outstanding. If one brings devotion to perfection, realization will reach perfection. How do you bring devotion to perfection? Accumulating merit is one of the elements. You don't bring devotion to perfection by thinking day in, day out, my guru is perfect, my guru is perfect, my guru, everything she says is right, everything she does is right, no problem at all. That's not guru devotion. That's brainwashing yourself. You accumulate merit, you purify your obscurations, you engage in virtue, you refrain and restrain from non-virtue, you purify your mind, your heart. Concerning Tilopa's statement that Naropa had pleased him for 12 years, the Dorshema repeats the example of the mold and the ball of clay. Accordingly, the condition, the guru endowed with characteristics, is like a mold without defects. And the cause, one's devotion, is like a pliable ball of clay. If these two coincide perfectly, it occurs that the guru's realization, which is non-dually merged with the disciple's resolve for awakening, makes something like an imprint in the disciple's mind, as in the case of Tilopa and Naropa. So the guru's realization can merge with the disciples' resolve or desire to achieve that realization, so that then an imprint can be made on the disciples' heart, mind. If there's no pattern in the mold, that is, if the guru does not possess the necessary characteristics, he cannot generate the qualities in the disciple. Even when the disciple is pliable as a ball of clay. If there is a pattern in the mold, but the clay is hard or full of stones, the pattern will also not appear in the clay. Several quotes from Jigten Sungwen's works follow, mostly attributed to the guru, namely Pamodrupa. The precious matchless guru said that if the devotion to the qualified guru does not reach its limit, it is impossible for qualities to arise. Moreover, attributed in the Chintamani to Pamodrupa, if one does not understand the guru to be the Dharmakaya, the realization of oneself as Dharmakaya is just babble. If one does not understand the guru to be the kaya of form, one may see oneself clearly as the deity of meditation, but is carried away by dead matter. So if you do not see the guru's physical guru to be the rupakaya, the, the form that has the, the body that appears in form, then even if you think you see yourself clearly as idam, your meditation will be carried away by dead matter. If you see the guru as an ordinary being, no matter how high your realization is, you will get lost in the experience. And Jigten Sumgun says, the former gurus have taught that the qualities of all of samsara and nirvana certainly arise from devotion to the excellent guru. If one is without devotion, there is no chance. In the early days of this lineage, of course, the world is also very different. It's a much smaller world, so to say. And so the way people relate to each other in general is much more on a personal level. Right now, we have such impersonal lives, So you have to take that into kind of consideration and then ask ourselves, so how do we know, and where do we need to be so that this kind of devotion can naturally take roots? Naturally is not automatically. Automatically, it will not happen. By naturally, I mean not in a forced way. So much of Guru devotion that I'm seeing is based on wanting so much, to realize Mahamudra or Dzogchen. And since the text always says that Guru devotion is a criterion, then it's like you try to get there when you're not there by pretending. Not out of dishonesty, not pretending, but you're so eager to experience these realizations in the higher Mahamudra Dzogchen. And then you keep hearing, you need devotion, or you need guru. And also people, are so eager to jump and grab anyone to be guru. Then when things go slightly wrong, when guru doesn't respond for a few days, a few weeks, all devotion goes out the window. That's not the way to do it. So for me, if you ask, it's good to know, what Jiten Sumgun has to say about devotion and Guru Yoga. But then, no matter where we are, there is Dharma practice that we can do. No matter where we are on the path, we do what we can do, should do, wherever we are on the path. And the time is right. Guru turns up. Devotion is engendered. Guru with qualities turn up. Nature of mind can be glimpsed, realized, and then stabilized. The Dorshema adds a few remarks on the necessary qualities of master and disciple. So these are the three that we talked about, So for the guru, three qualities. Through great discriminative knowledge, discerning knowledge, clear, precise knowledge, the guru is able to guide others. Through great compassion, the guru is able to bear the suffering of others. And finally, the guru does not have even the slightest concern for this life. Then the disciple needs to have three qualities. Without pride, and therefore can be respectful. He is happy with whatever the guru instructs, And so he conforms to the Guru's wishes and he gives his life to please the Guru. Last time we already talked about how to practice this. Thereby, the three essential blessings of the Guru enter into the mind of the disciple. And these three also very important. These three, with or without, explicit Guru identified, you can work on these three, Having understood death and impermanence, the disciple comes to resolve concerning this life's actual concerns. He understands the original state of all phenomena, the dependent origination of cause and effect, and out of a true altruistic motivation, the disciple cultivates the resolve for awakening. Questions or comments? Any questions, comments? Clarification needed? If not, we are going to turn our attention to statements from the first chapter. There we have reached statement 10. So we are going to turn our attention to statement 11. And this we're going to do actually next Monday. This Friday, Sakadawa, Duchen, the Duchen itself, we will probably, the second half, it will probably be Lalita Vistara instead of Gongchik on the 5th Friday. So starting next Monday, we will look at statement 11. Statement 11, 12, 13, 14. Statement 11, I have to say, it's to me just a confession. Not exactly sure why it's there as 11. Because 12, 13, 14, 15, there is connection, right, that one can see. But it's harder to see how 11 is connected to 10 and how it is connected to 12. Statement 11 seems to be concerned about addressing concerns among the more scholastic type. They want to say Buddha has this teaching, this teaching, this teaching, this teaching, which is on this level, this level, this level, this level, this level. So then there's lots of debates, for this level, is it actually here or is it actually here? And so Gilbert Rinpoche seems to be addressing one of these specific debates, which is basically, if you divide like the Mahayana Buddhist philosophy in India, you can divide them generally into the two, which is the mind only and the middle way, as the two main philosophical traditions of Mahayana philosophy. So then there's lots of debates in Tibet, as to which one is more superior to which, and what these terms actually mean. Half the time, if you actually read, the details, half the time you see that they are using the same names, differently. So definition problems. So some will say, like, oh, the middle way is the final. The mind only is secondary to that, this and that. So here, Khyentse Rinpoche's statement is very provocative, because the mainstream Tibetan philosophical understanding is that mind only is one step below middle way. Mind only is one step below middle way. Here, his provocative statement: the Buddha's instructions that teach mind only reveal the middle way. Reveal, illuminates, clarify the middle way. So from here, you see, he doesn't see those two as related to each other in the sense of one is inferior or the other is superior to the other one. He says the mind only reveals, illuminates, clarifies the middle way. Very interesting. Again, reminder, if you want to help us get these courses to be available to others in a way that is more accessible. So what we're trying to do is these courses that I've done, we're trying to turn them into more user-friendly. For sure, you know, a podcast that is 2 hours long is not very user-friendly. It just intimidates people. Then if we can provide, you know, more kind of supporting material, then it will also be easier for people. So Nathan has very bravely articulated his thinking to me. Now it's too late, he's stuck. So if you can kindly rescue him, I'm sure he appreciates it. That is your offering of Dharma. Chanchu semchu rinpoche ma ge ba nam ge gyurji ge ba nyam ba me ba yang gong ne gong du bel war shu. Okay, Tata, have a good day. Tonight, some of us have Kagyu Sangha. We start at 7. If you are participating in that, I'll see you at 7.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you.